our staff about all sorts of wacko conspiracy theories, which I admit a lot of it goes beyond my training as a colour matcher at the paint counter, but we are here to help.
Illuminati solar garden lights, $4.95. Flat earth movers, 20 grand.
Bunnings recognises many of our customers are concerned about protecting themselves from Bill Gates's mind-controlling 5G global pedophile rays while they might be outside sanding a deck or chlorinating a pool.
Pocket edition of the 1948 UN Charter of Human Rights, $28.57. Self-sealing arguments, $3.
Whatever nonsense you believe, we've got you covered like chemtrails on a crop circle.
Anti-Vax Power 7 Pet Barrel Reverse Vacuum Cleaner, 5 for $1,000. False flags, $8.51.
And if you find a better price, it's probably a hoax, but as you people keep saying, do your own research.
Bunnings Warehouse. I keep telling you, I love creative people, and that is very bloody creative. Very much enjoyed that. There's been a few anti-ads come out recently. I know there are a few in production. Might be anti-ads that are in production. Looking forward to seeing what's coming out with them too. But love creative people, and if that gets people talking, then I'm really happy to be part of that conversation. It's an interesting way of putting a bit of a joke on us, but we sometimes learn that the jokes can turn on those that push them on us. And on that note, can I introduce to you tonight's very special guest? I haven't got an eye patch ready, but I am prepared to say, "Aarrrrrh," and welcome to the old pirate himself, John Wilson. And that kookaburra in the background, mate, is what I'm referring to. Things that are taken and tried to be used against us, we can take and use to our own advantage. And I think the kookaburra behind you is a great example of that.
Yeah, I mean, in only a very, very few short months, the freedom movement and specifically, all of those truthers have been consistently slagged as being cookers, have now been switched. We've now taken it all off them, disarmed them. We now own. It's almost like Andrew Breitbart when he was said, call me racist, right? Okay, fine. It's war. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
It's interesting the way that that's all turned out and continues to change. Their tactics have been changing, and we're not here to talk about their tactics at all tonight. Just like to say that the way that they're changing tactics isn't working terribly well. Let's get on to what we are good at working at, and that's coming up with a few bits of paper for people to look at, you in particular. The log of claims, John, I've seen the volume of email and replies that I've seen come through me, which also go to you, but you are also getting some direct. Thank you to everybody who's taken the time to sit down, to read and contemplate what that document says and what we've asked of you in that document. It's pretty plain. We've asked for suggestions or, if you think there are things that need changing. John, what's been the response you've, generally got?
Very, very positive. And I mean, very positive. Let me echo a couple of things, Carl. When I put this document out via and publicly spoke about it at the Gold Coast and elsewhere, I've only asked for one thing, and that is for a national conversation to take place. And I've simply asked what that conversation should be, and it should be on two things only, right? Who are we at war with? What are we fighting here? And B, the second thing is, what is our claim? What do we want? That's all. I've been very straightforward, very simple. I'm an old Queenslander. We don't like to complicate things. And I've asked for that national conversation to take place. And thus far, there has been hundreds and hundreds of people that have engaged in that conversation and provided feedback via to me. And I thank them profusely for so. Even those critics, I thank them profusely for taking the time and the effort for coming back to me.
Well, let's just speak about the critics for a moment, can we? What have been the criticisms that you've received?
Two types, right? One is suggested criticism, i.e. amendments, which is not really a criticism. It's saying, hey, we believe it can be a better document. These amendments were incorporated.
Yep.
So, but it's a constructive criticism. That's the way I look at it. And there's been some of those, not a hell of a lot, but there have been a few. And I agree. One email exchange went to great detail. I mean, I can't thank those people enough for, doing that. Now, the second criticism, is the negative criticism, i.e. the whole document is not worthy, right? It's not worthy, and therefore it's rejected outright. And there's been only one of them. Only one.
I think
lots
it might
of
have come from
reasons
the same
given.
person that I'm thinking of.
Yeah, there was lots of reasons offered, you know what I mean? But in short, my whole document's been rejected outright, and a list of reasons down there. But there's only been one of that feedback.
I agree.
Anonymous.
I've only had one. Anonymous. Yes. I was silly enough to engage. And I replied saying, look, thanks very much for all your efforts, but you've missed the point of the document and what we were actually asking for. But, thanks very much all the same. And then I got lectured about my IQ in the following email and how, why I would think I would be able to help you with a document like this. The person concerned is just a troll, and they're pretty easy to spot. They have no valid. They didn't. Nobody says everybody has to agree with this document. But what we have asked is, if you don't agree with it, present your reasons why, and offer some solutions, offer some amendments, offer some way that we can make this a livable document for us all, because it has to be about us all. This person has none of that and cannot think along those lines. They can only think in destructive and hypercritical lines, which at this juncture are not actually relevant to the conversation. If we were to get a little deeper down and this became a national document of some significance that we were asking people to vote on particularly, then, that's where this kind of argument could be raised, I suspect. But at the moment, they're a bit early in the game for shooting that one, isn't it? They're shooting their cannon into an empty field.
Yes, look, Carl, again, for the benefit of your listeners and your audience, let me just go over this a little bit again, okay? Look, the journey that I'm on, I'm only seeking two things. And it's those two things, right, is I don't want your money. I don't want your membership. I don't want any of you, right? I just want your agreement, right? I just want your agreement. I want you, my Australian brother or sister, to tell me, right, who are we fighting? What is your understanding? What is your understanding? Who is our enemy? Who are we fighting, right? Because, and I say that with my hand on my heart, Carl, because there are people in the Australian freedom movement who are not fully realising just what sort of a spiritual war we are involved in here, right? And I'm not pointing fingers and saying people are ignorant here. I'm just saying there's a lot more to this war than what people may initially think. This is a lot deeper. So that's the first thing I'm saying. Who are we fighting here? I'm trying to get agreement on that. And the second thing I'm trying to get to, right, is what is your motivation? What would motivate you to go to war, right? Okay, i.e., what's your claim? What do you want, right? What's your claim? Is that can we agree on the same claim? Can we just simply do that, right? Can we agree on that? I don't want your money. I don't want your membership. I just want your agreement. Now, if your audience members out there can tell me where I am going wrong, tell me in my motivations and what I'm asking for, tell me, give me their honest opinion on where I'm going wrong with this, right? Because I say that unless we can get some agreement on who the hell we're all at war with and who we're all fighting for, unless we can get some agreement on this, right, then I don't think the freedom movement is in good shape. I just don't think it's in good shape. And I don't think it's got a direction and focus. And many people have expressed this to me over the last year or so since Canberra. What has the freedom movement done? Where's it going? What's it doing? What's it doing? Right? Now, there have been, some good stuff done here and there, but there has still, to this date, been no agreement where what we are all fighting for, what is our common ground. Now, I've put forward in an unbiased way as best I can. I mean, by openly declaring my biases, I guess that's the best I can do. Now, I've taken the time and effort to put together, I think, a national logger claim should look like a method to everyone. Knowing why that they're not free single, and knowing all of that, knowing that, there's probably something that I've overlooked, knowing that I've probably phrased something or rephrased something that needs to be rephrased, knowing all of that stuff, right? And invite the nation to help me get that to be a better document, inviting the nation, right, to help me sharpen that document up to truly reflect all of Australia's hopes, dreams, and aspirations. So it's captured in our log of claims. So then we can all agree on it, and then we can all, in our own way, engage in our own struggles, collectively and individually, but all struggling for the same outcome, the same goal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, I'm saying to you, a year after Canberra, a year now, more than a year, still not one resolution, not one decision has been made at any of these protest movements, none of them. No agreements being reached. Now, I've been contacted by some people, great people like Rowan Lorien, who works with Romley Stewart and so on. And Rowan's put forward an offer to help me do some drafting on the document to make it a better document, so the language used is the right language, etc. And I've accepted and his offer of acceptance, his offer to help. Right, I've accepted all this. Hasn't been done yet, but we're going to get onto this. So if any of your audience out there can tell me where I'm going wrong with this, what my reasoning is, if it doesn't stack up, if it doesn't make sense, but sure, case may be, I dropped out. I'm just simply asking you, let's agree on who we are fighting here, and let's agree on what our goals are, what our log of claims is. What do we want from this sacrifice we are making? Okay?
Absolutely. Yep. And I think once we've got that clear direction, it will be much easier. Sorry, I'm just shutting down programs that are running in the background here that might be putting a drag and a lag into this system. Shouldn't be doing that, but just maybe it is. So yeah, I think you've really succinctly put it there, John. This isn't a document that is the be all and end all of everything. This is a beginning point for us all, and we are asking for everybody to have input into this. We've also had some conversations today about it's all well and good to have this, but going forward, we're going to need something like a blockchain to be able to have an accountable vote that we can trust. Clearly, police and medical folks aren't the only things that the majority of folks have lost trust in these days. It also seems like, dare I say, a majority don't care about the voting system and what's happened with that either. They seem to think it's all well and good as long as they get their check every fortnight, or the government doesn't hassle them for too much money, or at the moment they're under a bit of stress because the banks keep putting up mortgage rates. Although I hear one of them today has actually lowered their mortgage rates. The entire community is under pressure from every angle, and we're asking them now to consider something else. So, what will be our next step, John? Once a given time, do you have an idea of how long you want the log of claims to be out for before you make any amendment if required, or you put those amendments up for any kind of a vote for people?
Yes, look, there's two things. There's two fronts that I'm now working on. One is I'm trying to collaborate and work with other people upon feedback, right, to to get a great document, right? That's the first thing. The second front that I'm working on is trying to find people, right, a person or people who have the ability to assist in setting up a online vote so that we can take this and get a vote. Sorry, I've got an itchy nose. To get an online vote. Why? Right? Why? Because the document needs legitimacy, and we need a way to capture support or no support. We need a way of doing this, and so an online blockchain vote, I think, is the way to do that. So I'm working on those two fronts. Now, how long will it take? Well, I don't know, Carl. I don't know. Again, if this thing runs flat, if it goes nowhere, Carl, if it goes nowhere, right, and I hope it goes the opposite. I hope it's successful. But if it goes nowhere, then I can put my hand on my heart. I can put my hand on my heart and say that the Australian freedom movement is so misguided, so confused, that it is unable to agree on a log of claims. It's unable to agree on what they want. They can't do it, right? And I've tried. So it's going to reveal, it's going to say some things about Australia and this freedom movement. It will. Just like last New South Wales elections, when Bosi Guru and the A1 team stood. I note those people that got right in behind the Bosi Guru campaign. I was one of those, Carl. So were you. But I note those many other people that not one word was said in support. Not one word was said. I note with very, very strong interest. And I won't be forgetting that either.
How will the log of claims work, or can it play a role alongside the voice arguments were being put forward at the moment for referendum later this year? I think that the log of claims obviously works for all people. Doesn't matter whether you're black, brown, brindle, or white. Doesn't matter. It's for all people, and that's what we need to be creating from this log of claims document. But I find that a lot of the arguments and a lot of the things that are mentioned in the log of claims will form parts of the argument for and against the voice. So what are your thoughts on the voice, and where are you standing with it currently?
Look, I have no relationship with any of that initiative whatsoever. I don't support it. Okay, I don't support its motivations. I don't support its operation and its implications. I don't support anything about it. This whole voice project all comes back from communist tactics, which is red over black, which is usurp countries, a nation's sovereignty, right? Usurp it by using indigenous and other treaties, UN treaties, and so on. And I see this very much as all part of that, right? Now, yeah.
If you've had a storied career, a colourful career, from running unions to running big sites, to dealing with the corridors of power with the people of power. Tony Abbott has come out, and I've got 60 seconds of him. I just want you to have a look at this, and I'll get your comment after you've heard it.
I think that this voice is a terrible idea. It's wrong in principle. It would be disastrous in practice. I can't think of anything that we are currently being called upon to do to our country that would be worse than this. The PM keeps saying that not to vote yes is to be disrespectful and impolite to Aboriginal people. Yep. It's really a form of moral blackmail, the argument that he's using. Mm-hmm. He's also trying to, as it were, tilt the playing field by giving tax deductibility for yes donations without tax deductibility for no donations. Yep. By putting tens of millions of dollars into a publicly funded campaign against misinformation, which will ultimately be propaganda for the yes case. So I'm very worried. I want to rally every Australian who believes in constitutional equality to vote against this.
There's some pretty serious words Abbott's saying there.
Yes, and I support the whole thrust of everything he's saying.
I thought the term that he used, moral blackmail, that Albanese is using these techniques as a form of moral blackmail over Australians, yes, was a very strong term. Is this something maybe we should be looking at further and using that moral blackmail line, if you like, and showing the examples of how and why it is moral blackmail what they're doing? Is this a way of combating the yes vote strategy?
Oh, absolutely. I think everything is fair, right? That we do, that goes into exposing, right, the motive and and the impact of what this means. Okay, in essence, what it means, loss of sovereignty, and in essence, what it means is a bodgy front of Aboriginals who are not Aboriginals, or who are Aboriginals who've sold out, right, any essence of loyalty to this nation and her people, right? Okay. Now, these people are then going to be the voice in Parliament, right? Under the Constitution, it's going to be them that will be the spokespeople. Now, the disadvantaged Aboriginals. Now, I've lived 3 years in Alice Springs. I've lived in North Queensland. I've lived for a large part of my life in amongst Aboriginal communities. And there's a huge amount of hardship that goes on there, huge amount of hardship. And they're not seeing any of the public funding that's going into the Aboriginal industrial complex. They're not seeing any of it, right? They are going through immense hardship on the ground. Their safety, they're being attacked. They're being attacked by violent spouses, and their children are being attacked. I mean, they're not safe. They are not safe in their own homes. So they're being terrorised. They're being marginalised. They're being ignored. They're being pushed once again to the outer date. No, none of the Albanese voice people want to listen to one word from any of those people. None of them. They will listen to the Marxists, the Marcia Langdons, mate. The communist Marxists of old. It's John Wilson, mate. I know these people. I know them both personally, and I know their politics. And their role in all of this, mate, is not to the betterment of this country, mate. No way. Vote no. Everyone out there should be voting no.
I've seen a lot of elders, Aboriginal elders, coming out and releasing videos of their own now. They are very forceful in their support of a no vote for this. The Tiwi Islands leadership have come out very forcefully against it. I'm led to believe that feelings in parts of North Queensland on many of the islands that are affected most strongly by this is they are very, very fearful of voting no because of a loss of what they currently have. The problem is in many of the instances in, I believe, North Queensland, but probably other areas, these folks don't fully understand that by agreeing to this and voting yes to this, the rights that they think they have now will be taken from them. And I'll put this, so this was explained to me this way. We all understand how Mabo works, the land rights judgment in Australia. Now, once the voice, if it's allowed into our constitution, once the voice becomes a part of our constitution and a part of our parliament, the voice will be used to negate Mabo. All right, and the land rights associated to individual tribes and areas over that land. Now, it will be done because the voice is the Aboriginal nation's voice, not just individual groups. And we're working for the betterment of everybody. So Mabo, straight out the door. If this yes vote comes through, all that's gone. And along with it, of course, every royalty check, every payment that you get from anything they are currently dragging out of the ground, that is all of ours. So that is I think, a very significant point that we must get across to everybody who is going to be voting in this referendum coming up. Or am I off ball there?
No, I think there's two things that we have to do, and that is to continually wage war against any and all attempts that are made upon all of us and our sovereignty and our lifestyle and our children and so on. I mean, they are attacking us everywhere. I mean, we're talking, we have our sovereignty under attack with the voice, but our children are under attack with drag queen strip shows going on in libraries. I mean, we are under attack everywhere, and so we must be equip ourselves and be able to resist all these fronts. That's it goes without saying. But at the very same time, we've got to continue to build friendships, relationships up with all of those Aboriginals in Australia, right, who know what's going on. They know what's going on. We've got to continue to build friendships, relationships, and this is where Voice of Freedom plays a very big, or could play a very big role. We've got to give them a voice, right? When we talk about a voice, right, let's start giving them airtime. Let's start playing their views. Let's start getting them in interviews. You understand me? So, so on one hand, we've got to fend off and defend ourselves against these attacks. But on the other hand, somehow we have to break through the Aboriginal industrial complex, right? We've got to get past them, and we've got to get through to all of those Aboriginals out in Australia who know that they are being used to usurp our sovereignty, and we've got to build relationships with them and friendships with them, and we've got to interview them and give them airtime and all that stuff.
Absolutely.
That's what we got to start doing.
Yep, and that is the plan. We're going to
No
go back
more
north
divide
again.
and conquer.
Yeah, we're going to go
Yeah.
back north again. We'll talk to some folks. In fact, I'm going to see if we can get onto Palm Island. I met a magnificent family there while I was up having lunch on the Yanks jetty. And I do have their email address. I've got some wonderful videos of their kids to send to them. They took off with my GoPro and had, well, they're much better swimmers than me. And they got some great videos, so I'll send that off to them. But I'm going to ask what process needs to take place for maybe both of us to be allowed to come over and do a show from Palm Island. We can have a bit of a conversation about it. We can have a look around. We can see the conditions and what people there are looking for. And of course, there are other areas in far north Queensland we'll be visiting as well. So that is an open invitation, and I will get somebody on the next day or two to come and have a chat. Maybe not North Queensland focused, but just general Aboriginal nation focused, and we'll see what we can come up with from there. Had it and it's gone. I had something else I was going to ask you.
Well, it's good work with on the Aboriginals front, Carl. And again, mate, we do have some Aboriginal activists now which are honing their skills and honing their message and are getting better at all of this. And we need to give them airtime. We need to give them airtime, and we need to build bridges with these people. Have a look at the logger claims. Have a look at it. Let's see if we can get agreement. I mean, wouldn't it be nice to have the Aboriginals at least agreeing? I'm talking ordinary Aboriginals agreeing with ordinary Australians on what we want, what we all want.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Not what they want and we want, what we all want.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, wouldn't that be nice?
It'd be amazing. And we are going to be able to achieve that only by working together, hearing each other's complaints, because it's, there's complaints on both sides, and finding a middle ground where we can all accept and move forward. That's what it has to be. Otherwise, we go nowhere. Yes. Nothing changes. Everybody has their hand out to the government eventually, begging to survive. And that, I'm afraid, is not something I'm willing to accept, and I know you're not, John. So the sooner that we can get these conversations happening, and I don't just mean with us. These conversations have to happen with you folks. There are a lot of you out there who can have these conversations. You're in the communities already. Open up those doors. In my places, I know around Australia, the door is wide open to our First Nations people, and in Victoria particularly, there is some significant influences at play there. So Darren Bergwerf has told us about those on a few of occasions. So get behind it, folks. We've got to be together to learn how to do these things. I still haven't dawned on me what it was I was going to discuss with you, John, other than my North Queensland trip did reveal a great deal of interest in getting you up there for a couple of shows. So can I now ask you formally if I can arrange it and we can get our finances together to drive back up to far north Queensland, and you don't have to sleep beside the croc-infested creek, would you be interested in coming back to far north Queensland and doing a few shows?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Look, North Queensland, right up far North Queensland, up to Mossman, Cooktown. I've been up there many, many, many years ago as a young man. So I've got some of the fondest memories of the people and the places that I've been up there. I mean, going swimming in the middle of summer at Mossman Gorge in beautiful Mossman River, cool water coming out of the mountains while it was so hot. You know what I mean? Going over waterfalls, all this sort of stuff, without any crocs, of course. But, I've got very fond memories. Love to go, Carl. Everything is in the detail, which is just time, when we can do it and how it can be put together. But providing we can accommodate, schedules and how we can do it, the simple answer is yes. I'd love to do a North Queensland meet and greet and chat and more than happy to.
All right, brilliant. Well, I'll see what we can arrange. I know that there is quite a number of people in varied places from Gympie North that would be interested in having you come up and have a bit of a chat about the logger claims, and I can put a show on around the back of that. You don't have to appear on every show, mate. That's okay. I won't make you work that hard. You'll be able to go off and have a beer and dinner. So work out quite nicely for you. Listen, thanks for taking the time tonight. I think we've covered everything that I think we really need to at the moment. I'm just having a bit of a scan to see if there is any questions. Interestingly, we've gained a new troll tonight, but he's not smart enough to figure out he's in a room. He's complaining about the number of viewers that we have on one of the channels. So he hasn't figured out there are actually 9 channels, and he's in the one that's probably the youngest of the lot and has 13 viewers in it. So, Andrew Johnson, you're not very smart. I can tell you that at the moment there are a damn sight more than 13 viewers watching across 9 channels. But good luck to you, and all the best. I hope you've learned from that. So, a bit of news about the boat. I've been in contact with somebody. I've learned more about boats, can I tell you, and what requires in the way of building and fixing and just checking for things in the last month or so than I ever thought I would know. I would like to thank everybody who's contacted me and thrown a bit of advice. And John, we've sort of had a little bit of a conversation today. We're going to have more of a conversation about it. But while the old girl needs a little bit of TLC, she's still a pretty sturdy old boat. You're not sinking just yet, are you?
No. The boat, look, the boat is over 70 years old, and I have put a lot of money into it earlier, right? So it needs another spend. It needs another spend, maintenance-wise, but enough money has been spent on it to keep it above the water for a few years yet.
Yeah. So she's showing a couple of battle scars after the near-death moments that you experienced during the last Brisbane flood. And I think she probably experienced a couple of near-death moments, judging by particularly one point on her bow. It looks like you came up against something pretty solid there at one stage.
That would have been the water tank that hit me doing about 18 knots. That would have been the water tank. Lifted the whole bow of the boat out of the front of the water. It came steaming. It was about 80-90% full, so most of the water tank was under the water. As a big underwater, moving at speed with only a 10 or 15% of the water tank above.
Yeah, right. Yep.
The front of the boat and lifted the whole bow out of the water. I remember it hit. It shook the shit out of me and scared the living daylights out of me. But look, mate. In due course, the boat will need to go out of the water. It will need to be anti-fouled and prop speed and all that sort of stuff. And I need to attend to not panels, but joins and things like that.
Yep.
I will attend to it in emergency stuff. First instance, to get me through another few more months and just keep at it, mate. I would rather be dealing with maintenance issues on the boat than Brisbane River floods. I can tell you.
Absolutely.
The Brisbane River floods, no contest.
Good on you, brother. All right, well, I'll let you go off and get into your meal tonight. Thanks for joining us, and you stay safe there, and no doubt we'll be talking in the coming days.
Okay, thank you, Carl. Thanks to all your listeners, and I'm going to keep trying to travel this pathway and progress matters. Less haste, more speed. This is a fair income, genuine proposition. Okay, let's see what we can reach agreement on. Let's see.
Yeah.
I'm hoping we can reach agreement on a lot.
Yeah, I agree. We can only start the conversation. We can't finish it. The people have to be involved in ending this conversation. So, all right. He's gone. Yeah, so that's what I was saying. The people have to be involved in ending this conversation. All we've given it as a starting point, and I think John's starting point is a bloody great one. I could support it wholeheartedly, and I've thought long and hard about amendments, and I've looked at some of the suggestions that have come through. Some of them are very valid, and I'm sure John is giving them all the consideration they are due, and eventually I suspect you will find that there will be something of a different document eventually comes out. And once blockchain is sorted and blockchain voting is possible, you will be able to conduct a vote and be able to quantify and prove that only one person voted, one vote, one person sort of thing. So you'll have a very credible way of supplying better than a petition, in fact. It would be instant. You would be able to have a result inside an hour if that's the window of voting that you allowed open for it. And you wouldn't. You'd give the country a day or two to get to their phone and think about whatever this suggestion was. But to be able to do this kind of blockchain voting and have it backing up is possible. And I know that the team from my place are working with developers at the moment on that. It's only an application of money, isn't it always? But they're working on, they've got everything else for the vote sorted. They just need that secure blockchain environment to hold it in. And there is a lot of effort going into that at the moment. Having a bit of a climb down. Thank you, Larrikins. Yes, transparency is absolutely key. Without transparency, we have nothing. Should have said it earlier. Thank you, boys. I appreciate that indeed. Another bit of a cruise up to just see. Thank you, J.I. And I think that's pretty much a solid no from John and I too. Can I address the Bedlam comment? Melissa, what is Bedlam's comment? Bellum's comment. And John, okay, I'm concerned about your suggestions of log claims. Oh, here we go. What's this? Concerned about your suggestion of log claims is to be blockchain. It's the tech they will use to bring our social credit system. Well, yes, I understand your thoughts in that. We're assuming an environment where that kind of control isn't being exhibited, and the only way that kind of control is going to be exhibited is if we keep electing the fucking morons who are running the place now, and we would be moronic to do so, and we would be even more moronic not to call them out on the cheating. We're getting sick and tired of the cheating, the corruption. Cheating is too gentler a word for what these pricks are doing. So yeah, I guess we're assuming that if blockchain being a quantum system can't keep the bastards honest, then I don't think there's any hope for any of us. But yeah, I take your point, Billum, that yes, those in charge of the blockchain, I guess, are to be questioned. The fact is that you can't change the blockchain. So if there is a way, and I believe this is probably what the sticking point will be, everyone who wants to vote will need to register to vote using whatever device it is they want to vote on, their phone or whatever. Will it be an app? Possibly. Don't know. It's possible that it could come a different way from push notifications, or what will be the next level of push notifications. It could possibly at this moment come as a text message maybe, and it would be a question you would get a yes or no answer to, or a selection of answers, and from the pool of people that were registered, you would be able to gain a very accurate sample, a very accurate sample that is not open to interpretation or manipulation, because each vote can be tracked to the blockchain. On a national scale, using something like that for our federal or state elections, I've given that a lot of thought. It would have to be done in conjunction with the AEC, or whatever that morphs into, because clearly the AEC aren't doing their job, along with just about everything else in government and bureaucracy. So whatever was to replace them, there would be an automatic sign-up process once you got to 18 and you had a phone. And if you were to go in and get a new phone, then obviously you would already have an online presence with that app or whatever. You'd have to download a new app, swap your phones over, download all your stuff. So there'd be no problem with continuity of keeping your stuff on your phone. I would suspect that there would need to be a level of security again above what you currently have. And given that we are talking a quantum computing environment, that level of security could be a bioscan of some kind, whatever. Then the app or the question that was posed or the vote that was posed would need to kill itself on your device as soon as you had answered, and you would not be allowed to go back and change that answer, or the app wouldn't open again for another 24 hours till there was another thing you were required to vote on or whatever, or asked to vote on. Now, every Australian who has a mobile phone and is of a voting age could be used in federal and state elections. However, we all know that children as young as 5 and 6 years old have mobile phones. This technology could also be used, I believe, for our minors in a very different way, but also giving them the input into the system that they don't get currently and only get once they reach a voting age. Now, that doesn't mean that we should be handing over the vote to 6-year-olds, but it does mean that 6-year-olds that get involved in the process of community, of thinking about the issues, of wanting to have a say in their community, because at the end of the day, in 10 years' time, they're the young people we're going to be asked to help build it. And in 20 years' time, they'll be the young leaders helping build it. So we need to allow them some buy-in to the whole process. And every young person who has a mobile phone registers in the same way and are sent similar questions. Now, their input can be gauged potentially on a different or through a different viewing glass, given the influences that many of them are under at the time, and given that, you know, the twatter players of the world and the twatch scratchers and all that sort of shit, they've all got mobile phones and they're all dead set against old people having any say about anything. So this is where that kind of motivations can have their say, as well as the more moderate teens who don't speak up, who don't say anything, who might call conservative, or who just haven't reached a political position yet, but do have a feeling about how they want their future to go. I mean, if you gave, you know, all 10 to 18-year-olds the vote today, tomorrow there'd be no more power stations. You know, there'd be no more food being grown here. You wouldn't be able to chop down a tree. You wouldn't be able to kill an animal to eat it. And that would be because that's how they see the world. It should be that easy. It's all very definitive. Once they've gone out and lived 10 years in the real world after they've left mummy and daddy, in a lot of cases, most cases, you get a more moderate view. And 10 years after that, again, you get a much different view. And another 10 years after that, you get a very different view, all based on experience. We shouldn't discount the inexperience of the young. They should be heard. But they should also be educated into the system and how it works. And I guess if you're going to put forward frivolous votes as a young person in this sort of an environment, bear in mind this blockchain voting system could be used at a community level, at a town level, on little issues. Well, not little issues, they'd be big issues in the community. But your local council, for instance, would be given access to this ability. And if it came down to, well, are we going to go and build a new toilet block in the main street of town, or are we going to build a skate park for our youngsters, or are we going to build a building that can be used by the community to teach our youngsters craft, skills, trades, something that's going to help keep our youngsters in our community rather than have them running off to the big smoke, as so many of them currently do from the bush. They quite often wind up going home in many cases because the big smoke's not for them, but there are many who simply can't afford to go back home after they've come to the big city. They've got themselves a car, they've got themselves involved in a few other bits and pieces, a biggest group of friends, yada, 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 all that very acceptable stuff. But we still need kids back out there in the bush helping to grow the wheat, helping to grow the oats, helping to grow the spuds, the veggies. And they have to have an input. We have to let them. This could be the way to do it. So let's hope that the blockchain vote thing comes through. I'll get Darren. I tried ringing him earlier today. He's a busy man. I tried to get a bit of a comment from him as to where they are on that at the moment. Maybe it is just the application of money and the technology code to stretch the voting system into the blockchain. I'm sure that's the hookup at the moment, and I'm sure it won't be cheap. But we do what we can to fight on regardless. Folks, speaking of fighting on regardless, I am going to go off and do pretty much like that. I hope that answered Billam's question okay. Assuming the current system, then yes, you're a foreteller of doom. But under a quantum system, that the bad shit will be caught out. There will no hijacking of a blockchain vote. Everything will be transparent, as the Galactic Larrikins so aptly pointed out. Transparency is the key, and we look for that in everything that we are doing at the moment, folks. If there are offers or people who come to us with ideas, and believe me, there are all sorts of interesting ideas coming out of the woodwork and being presented to me and others. We look at the motivations behind it all and the transparency of the project. It has to be 100% transparent. Has to be. Otherwise, I won't trust it, and you won't trust it. And if none of us trust it, how the hell's it going to work? So yeah, it's just not going to work. What the Larrikins said, you met 12-year-olds that are way more in touch than 30-year-olds. Yes, very true. So have I. I can think of a couple of them, in fact, that live in Singleton. There's a few more too. There's a couple that live in Melbourne that I'm apt with. Young Charlie, who I think is somewhere in New South Wales. He's pretty switched on. I hope you're doing well, Charlie. I enjoy getting your mum and your emails and your messages. So thanks for that. I keep up the good intel. And there are a lot of switched on kids. It's so good to see them too when they turn up at events where we're doing live shows. We do get them. They are interested. They're not just being dragged along. And in fact, on more than one occasion, a couple of them have put me through my paces answering questions. So it's good. Great young inquiring minds. Can't get enough of them. We need to attract more of them. And we need to get more of your friends coming along and joining us, folks. My place is doing huge things, as you well know. Growth all over the country. They are coming up against some resistance from some fools who are taking it upon themselves to ring venues that are hosting My Place events and telling lies to the owners and scaring them off from hosting My Place events. This is not just stupid, folks. It's beyond stupid. It's the kind of thing you'd expect from trolls, and it is trolls that are doing it. We do know who the trolls are. We are collecting quite a dossier on these trolls, folks, can I tell you? because while they think they are being terribly smart and terribly funny, they have absolutely no consequence of the serious shit they are in. They are breaking some significant laws, and I'm looking forward to the day they realise it. We know who you are. We know where you live. We won't be coming to visit you, but trust me, you will be finding somebody who'll be coming to serve you something. And I look forward to seeing you cower, because you are all cowards, and you will be exposed. Your cowardice will be exposed. Really looking forward to that day. Really looking forward to that day. I won't be on the road looking for dickheads that day, because all of them will be sitting in a courtroom. Very sad.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's ride!